Hello everyone, this is Abhijit from Politics for India. We are very glad to announce that number of toppers selected this year have used our content. Some have used our PSR notes, some have used our PSR model answers, while many toppers have used our website politicsforindia.com for value addition to their existing sources. One such topper, Mr. Kiran Kamate, he has secured All India rank 53 this year. We contacted him just after results and asked if we can have an interview with him where he can share his PSR strategy. He kindly agreed, and here we are. So, before we get into the interview, I'll just share some brief about Mr. Kiran. So, he's graduated in 2018. He started preparation for civil services in 2020. First three attempts he gave with civil engineering as an optional. In 2023, he thought PSIR would be a better choice and he switched to PSIR. So last year, 2025, that was his last attempt, but he has managed to secure All India rank 53 with 275 marks in PSIR. I honestly feel that the tips and the strategies he has revealed in this video, they're very insightful. I don't remember seeing these kind of videos since good amount of time. So I'm very confident that the strategies he has shared in this interview, they'll be very helpful for you all. We've discussed everything from getting started with PSIR, making PSR notes, then attempting the mock test, tackling individual questions, and then an overall strategy which one should have for the final paper. So the video has everything for everyone, be a beginner or maybe you're a pro, a pro student. Okay, uh, okay, the veteran, so to say. Okay, so please watch it carefully and let us know what you think. Okay, bye. Congratulations, you had such a good rank. The parents, family, they must be very happy, right?
And also the last attempt. So it was my last attempt. It was sixth and last attempt. So in that last attempt, I got 53. So more than happy.
Nice. And you're preparing since when? 2018?
2020, sir, March. Just a few days before lockdown.
Okay, okay. Fine, fine. And you graduated in 2018, I guess.
2018, sir. Yes. Yes.
Then you switched to PSR. So
Yes.
what exactly that happened and what was your calculation behind it?
Means I had prepared for GATE and engineering services after my engineering graduation. So for 2 years, I had done that. So 19 and 2020 till 2020, actually I had prepared for that. I had even got MTech program in IIT Guwahati.
Okay.
So that is when I switched to civil services, and that was the logic of mine to take civil engineering optional. So I was quite comfortable. Already I had written means there as well. So that is why I had taken it. But I wrote my first mains in 2022 with civil engineering optional.
Okay.
So I've written three mains. In that first mains, I had written with civil engineering optional. But because of the scaling factors and technical subjects were not getting enough marks, so I just got 225, sir. And at the same time, I got my state government job. So that is when I decided, okay, I'll switch and take PSL.
So you had any like tangible information regarding the scaling and all, or it was just like heresy?
No, sir, I had because just a few years before that, civil engineering was getting almost like 300 plus 310, 320.
Okay.
And so I thought even on an average case, I would be getting at least 270, 280. But that was not the case. And this was something that was within the or engineering subject circle that was happening that time. And even I talked to some of the faculty who were teaching in civil engineering options as well. So they also said the same. So and at the same time there was no overlap, and preparing civil engineering, it almost took like I could study two times of PSR or even three times. So with absolutely no overlap.
Okay.
So now that was the time I decided I have to switch, sir.
Okay, so that was from 2023, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So first three attempts civil engineering, next three attempts PSIR.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I have no formal background in political science.
Okay. And like, how did you start your PSI preparation then?
Actually, yes, sir. I actually brought the Subramanian ma'am's handwritten notes, got it from Delhi. So I, I read that. So basically, that was the thing I did. Just brought and started reading. I understood it, but I was not quite comfortable with the paper too, sir. And also the organization was not that good in the notes, and the handwritten notes was not. I was not comfortable with it. I personally don't like handwritten notes, reading handwritten notes. So at the same time, I found out your website, and you actually, if you type anything related to PSR, I think your website pops up first. So that was my first glimpse of PSIR. So even before Subramanian notes. So that is when I was very comfortable, and I thought this website is made for me. I started reading it. Sir. Yes.
Okay. And like, how was your first attempt? Then, like, see, you start reading, you don't get like because many students they ask me this question where when they start reading, they're not aware with the keywords and all, and then it's very confusing in the beginning.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
How did you deal with that? Like, did you had understanding that it will improve over the time, or how was it that learning curve?
Yes, sir. So one thing is because I had already spent 3 years of general study, I had some basic understanding of general studies, and it is in those 3 years that I actually found some comfort in political science and international relations. So more so with politics, sir. So I thought I actually had not prepared any other list of alternatives. If I am changing, it was only one subject. It was PSIR. I didn't talk to any topper or any uh, the the marks, trends, etc. Nothing. It was just a choice purely made out of my interest in political science.
Okay.
But yes, I found it very difficult in the initial few years, especially because once you start that Western political thought, you will not be able to understand. Even so, I was that person. I did not understand, but I think with repeated revisions, I understood it better. So it only got better.
Okay. So
Yes.
what was the thing like in 2023? Did you give mains with PSIR? How was it?
So now I prepare for 23, and I do not clear the prelims itself in 23.
Okay.
So now I'm left with another year to prepare for next attempt. So that is where I made my PSIR preparation more, more in depth. I prepare for PSIR. So at that time, so the resources were Shubharanjan notes, your website, and Utkarsh Dwivedi sir's blog for revision or some. In the meantime, I prepared a lot of value addition material. I have personally not made any notes. The only preparation I had made was the list of quotations, and the keywords, and thinkers and their works. These are the three lists I prepared and would repeatedly uh, study them, revise them. And then in 24, I give my first means with PSIR. So I scored 250 there.
Okay.
And I written just two tests, sir.
Oh, okay.
So with just barely two tests, that to 5 hours each, I should understand. Somehow I finished all the both papers, and it went pretty well. So I scored exactly 250, 126, 124. So 250, and I missed the final cutoff by 37 marks.
You gave interview or
I gave my interview. Yes, I cleared the mains. I cleared the mains by just 15 marks. So cutoff was 729. I scored 737. So just 12, 13 marks extra. But I get an interview call. I give my interview. I do fairly well because 172 is what I scored. But it was the mains part where I was missing. So this time around, I got 275. So I made a 25 marks jump.
Oh, yes, yes. So in PSIR, see, I'll get down to some details. Let's say you started in 2023, okay? You did the
Yes.
first reading. So what was your approach after that? Like since beginning, you had a plan that I'll go for first, second, third, and then I'll
Yes.
try an answer writing. So
Yes.
what was your overall big plan?
Initially, there was absolutely no plan regarding answer writing. My only target was to read it at least 2 to 3 times.
Okay.
First, understand the depth and the breadth of the subject. So I was not rushing around with answer writings.
Okay.
So I made it a point that I read it once. I'm not highlighting or making any notes in the first time. Second time I'm reading it again. I didn't go for any highlighting. Just I made some short notes out of it. Then in the third reading, I actually went into a little deeper and made those validation notes. And till then also I had not gone through the PYQs, etc. Nothing. So I was just focusing only on reading. I wanted to get the concepts clear, get the syllabus covered. That was the only target. So it was only when I got the main call that I wrote my first PSIR answer.
Okay, okay. So by that time you had done 3 readings.
Yes, 3 readings I had done it, sir.
Okay, fine. And what value addition did you do then after 2024 mains?
2024 means this time around, sir, I focused a lot on answer writing. This time it was exclusively more focused on answer writing, PYQ analysis, and third is lot of newspaper reading. So I made a lot of value addition through newspapers. I knew the basic value addition that was available on the website, notes, etc. But I wanted to bring for every answer I made a specific one paragraph dedicated only for contemporary relevance, irrespective of whether it's asked or no. I made it a point that I will end my answer before the conclusion, giving a contemporary relevance. So that is one fixed part. I made it irrespective of the demand and across the questions. So that contemporary relevance came only through newspapers.
You mean even for theory questions or only?
Yes, sir. Even if it is the most theoretic question, I would somehow link it with current context. So if it is anything related to capitalism, I would bring some ideas, current ideas linking to capitalism. Even if it is Marxism, I would somehow bring it, quoting modern Marxist thinkers and link it to that, or the inequality report and link it. So make sure that somehow one paragraph dedicated exclusively for contemporary.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was based on some like any realization you had, or like you just thought this will be a good strategy?
Like once I started writing answers, that is when I felt this can be very good validation. And I tried it in a couple of tests, and it got good. The evaluator also noticed it and appreciated it. So I understood. Like I made it a point and stood that I will do this as an option.
This is a good point actually, because ultimately, like you have to impress the examiner, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When you write something relevant, it strikes a chord with them, right? It makes them think, and
yes, absolutely.
They will favor your copy. They will. It shows your efforts, right?
Efforts, and also there's very little to do that make our answer stand out, because everyone's writing the same, reading the same content, writing the same answers, putting the same keywords, thinkers, etc. Now it's very difficult to actually stand out. And with just everyday answer writing, a bit of common sense, I think I could do this without a lot of effort. So that's where I think newspaper comes in, sir. Especially this year, I felt those who are focused primarily on just PQ analysis, I think they got it. It was more of newspaper reading, and that dynamism is with which newspaper reading brings in. Those actually they did well. I feel.
Yes, yes, this year's paper, I also felt it was a little different than usual, right?
Yes.
PYQs were not stressed enough. 1A was largely theoretical. It was largely based on PYQs.
Yes.
But 1B, 2B, they're like 2A.
1B, yes, 1B and 2B were very good questions.
Yes, yes. Just see some questions to students. So just to clarify, so the notes and the current affairs, for current affairs, your only source of newspaper, right?
Newspapers, only newspapers, and nothing much actually, nothing much. And there was a CAVA course by Dipit Damodaran sir of next years, and he had actually given he had put the IR part for the GS. That came in handy very much for even PSIR.
Audio is not very clear, Kiran.
Yes, I just checked.
Yeah, it sounds better now. So you said the newspaper, which newspaper specifically?
Even between the two, between Muslims and Mix, I read two newspapers. The Indian Express.
So you're saying the newspaper and the course you did at Inside IS, right?
Next IS, sir.
Next IS, I'm sorry.
Next IS, yes, sir. CAVA, Current Affairs Value Edition.
It was for GS or PSI?
It was for GS, sir. Only for GS. But actually, it helped a lot for PSR answers as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So notes you didn't make any, right? Whatever was the existing notes you highlighted and like you just use that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then okay, in 2025 you did answers. Okay.
Yes, sir. I wrote a lot of answers this time. I had joined the Subramanian test series, so I completed the entire test there.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Two iterations and two iteration of sectional test and one FLT. That was like 10 papers. Then another 8 in Sarthi.
Okay.
So that was a QEP plus. He had covered only the. It was basically PYQs turned into test series.
Okay.
So that was about 18 tests in total.
Okay. The 18 full length tests apart from
Yes.
series, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is your process like after you gave the test? Before the test, after the test, what was your process?
The entire week, I would prepare the respective section that was there for that weekend test, sir.
Okay.
So I would make sure that the basic notes I would revise completely, and if possible, at least like every day 2 answers I would write the PYQs.
Okay. Okay, we lost you again. Looks like. If you lose the signal one more time, we'll continue our normal regular audio call. Okay.
Oh, that's
Ultimately, we are concerned about the content.
content. That's
So what was your approach? Like before the test, you used to prepare for a week and you used to write 2 PYQs every day. Right?
every day. Yes, sir.
After the test? Approach before the test, the mock test, and after the test. How was it?
Yes. Okay. So before the test, I would read the entire basic notes.
Okay.
And everyday newspaper was something I always did. So then every day, two couple of questions, sir. I would just do some answer writing.
Okay.
And ultimately write the test at the end of the week, sir.
So answer writing on the same topics on which they're going to.
On the same, yes. If there was a test on 1A, I would write the PYQs of 1A, sir.
Okay. And after the test,
and after the test, I would wait for the evaluation to happen, and I would take the whatever the comments there were. I would take them, actually invite them seriously, sir.
Okay.
So that was something I was not doing previously. So now I made it a point that I would, whatever the points that they raised, I would try to bring it in.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And also I used a lot of chat GPT to evaluate my own answers.
Okay. So how like you used to type it or just
No, sir. I would just scan the papers and put it on chat GPT and ask it to evaluate and identifying the strengths and weaknesses of my answer.
Okay.
And I would then whatever the comments that it gave, I would try to imbibe it. And I also use chat GPT particularly for validation.
Okay.
Only particular validation. I would make, for example, I would give a particular topic and ask it for some contemporary value addition or some thinkers and their concepts which are like not regular or the newer ideas. So I would try to link them. So this is what I used ChatGPT for.
Okay, like for example, if there is some phenomenon you cannot think of an example, right? Then you can ask ChatGPT to give an example from contemporary times or something like that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. For example, the crisis of political science. Now we tend to write all the usual stuff, but somehow I used to identify the contemporary relevance of it. So I would ask ChatGPT to give me a contemporary idea of some work or some author, which I can use it for value addition. So this is how I used it for.
So this was your unique point which you wanted to emphasize, that contemporary relevance of entire. So basically, at the end of it, you had, like, you were aware, you had points regarding contemporary relevance of entire political science, I would say, right?
Yes.
Of all the topics.
Sir. And
okay.
so I had some contemporary relevance ready, 1 or 2 points.
Yes, yes, yes.
And this was not only for like using ChatGPT. Even let's say the everyday newspaper. If I come across some good validation, I would use it directly, sir.
Okay. Okay. And like, would you write it down somewhere, or you just like, how was it?
Yes, sir. I would write it down, sir. Yes, sir.
In the
I would
notes?
just.
Or...
Yes, sir. In my let's say in that very answer, I would make it a point using a different ink, so that would stand out. Next time when I'm revising, I know that this part is something that I've done differently. It is not in my usual notes, so that would help me identify.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now I would say, what was your final resources? Like, let's say you cleared prelims 2025. After prelims 2025, what all resources you referred? You refer the notes, and did you refer your answers also? How was it? Like that?
Yes, sir. There were three sources, sir. One primary is the notes from the coaching institute. Second is the Politics for India website. And later on, I think the website itself became my main source, sir.
Okay.
So then third was the Utkarsh Dwivedi sir's blog. That I actually used for revision and some kind of value addition.
Okay.
Mostly for revision purpose, because it was very crisp and very easy to read. So I had not made any my own notes. Yes, sir. These were the three only resources. I topped it up with everyday everyday newspaper reading, two newspapers, The Hindu and Indian Express.
Okay, okay. And did you refer your answers also once again after prelims, or that process was over already?
Like which answers? The previous?
I mean, mock test which you wrote.
Yes, sir. I had actually written the questions from a crash course by Shubharanjan ma'am. So I have read them again and again, sir.
Okay, okay. The mistake.
That actually gave me a way of like how to write answers. So initially I was not very at ease with respect to answer writing. So that crash course answers actually helped me understand answer writing.
Okay, great, great. Okay. So how many total revisions you would say you did for the entire PSIR? 4, 5? How was it?
No, 3. I would say 3.
Okay, only 3, and after that answer writing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because answer writing was something I was doing parallelly. So I had not kept it like I would finish these number of revision and then do answer writing. So I was taking it along. So everyday answer writing and sectional test and a revision. So it was all happening simultaneously.
Okay. Okay. So you did not prepare short notes also then, right?
Yes, sir. Short notes I had not prepared. Okay. Only notes I prepared were the 3 lists I mentioned. One list was section-specific keywords, lot of keywords. Then second list was thinkers and their concepts.
Okay.
Let's say some like Hannah Arendt and her concepts on totalitarianism, etc. So I made the section-specific keywords. That was again a very exhaustive list. Third was section-wise, again quotations, sir. So all the thinkers, whatever quotations that came. So I would just open a section on the Politics for India website. I would just jot down all the quotations that came in the same sequence. So that actually helped me to revise, sir. So even if I'm just reading the quotations, now I know serially how the topic has progressed. So that was the way of actually revising and active recalling. Now what that actually pushed me to think the theory part of behind those quotations. So I would force my brain to recollect the topic rather than directly opening the topic and reading. So because PSI revision, I felt, sir, if while reading it is very easy. Once the notes are in front of you, it's very easy to recollect. But when we are thinking and trying to write an answer, it becomes very difficult and we tend to miss the details. So when I did this, it actually helped me better revise and recollect.
This is very true what you're saying. When you start articulating, then you realize your limitations, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I was very honest with my answer writing. If I was not writing good answers, if I'm failing to recollect, I was just accepting that this was something I was not able to do. So only then I could course correct very immediately. So this was something I did, sir.
Okay. So what is your approach to course correction? You would refer ChatGPT for value addition, or you would go back to the notes, or you would just spend time thinking about it? How was it?
First, I would think, first, not the notes, not ChatGPT. It is always me contemplating what should I do, what should I think, or I would just sit there and brainstorm. Only thereafter it is use of notes and ChatGPT. And I would keep ChatGPT as number 3, sir. First is active recall, then notes, then ChatGPT. If I directly jump to ChatGPT, I think somewhere I am losing that ability to even think. I cannot just get into that habit, and it so much so that I lose my ability to even think.
This is very true actually, because ChatGPT then it puts you in certain direction, right? If you're not very clear what to get out of it, then it gets you in certain direction, and then you lose the track.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So fine, and okay, I'll just go through questions which students have posted. If something is remaining, we'll cover that. Okay. So one more thing, when you give a mock test, there is certain evaluation done by the evaluator. Not everything they give feedback to we agree on. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So how was it like? Because sometimes some students tend to go completely opposite. Sometimes some student they don't understand what exactly the examiner is trying to say. How is your approach, like respecting the evaluator plus trusting your own judgment?
Yes, this is a very practical problem that even I faced. Because a lot of times when let's say I'm bringing a completely new idea, a new concept into answer writing, and the evaluator, let's say he's just evaluating my answer based on the synopsis that is provided by the coaching center. Now he's not appreciating or even trying to make an effort to understand what I've written. He's just comparing the synopsis and saying this is missing out and you should have written this.
Exactly. Then it's difficult to maintain the self-confidence also, right?
Yes. Now he's not even acknowledged that I've written something different or tried. No, that actually demotivates. And you stop putting more efforts and you just go the regular way. But somewhere I felt in spite of the lack of acknowledgement or criticism, I would just accept and continue to do that, sir. Okay. Because I felt that was my hallmark of answer writing, and that is where my answers would stand out, irrespective of whether it's understood or not. Because ultimately, it is not the actual person evaluating in the UPSC exam will be more experienced and more subject specific expertise. So he would be more accepting in a sense, sir.
Yes.
So I was not very really worried about what they said or even commented, but taking that out, anything extra there, let's say some sort of valuation that said, that I would take it, sir. Again, only that criticism I would take, which I felt I could translate in the real exam, real test.
Okay.
Let's say sometimes some absolutely not a pragmatic points also they specify, which is just dumped from some research paper, etc. They just put it and say you should have added this. Now on a practical basis that might not happen. So only that those comments or validation which I felt would I would be able to recollect on the day of exam. Only those I would take it, sir.
So
ultimately, it is I am writing and I should be able to recollect. So those things I would make it a point and rectify them. Rest all I would just ignore, sir.
This is very good. Basically, we have to take our own responsibility, right? At the end, we cannot blame it on the examiners or somebody else.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is good approach. So basically, you took the feedback which you felt was relevant positively.
Yes.
If you felt something was not possible or something was contradictory to your self-conviction, you just ignored it.
I ignored it, sir.
You didn't completely ignore that. Some students, what do they do in this position? They completely leave the test series.
Completely, yes, sir, yes.
So that was also not the approach you adopted. You felt that whatever valuation...
There was a balance, sir. Balance, yes. I maintained that balanced.
Okay.
So I didn't take any extreme step.
This is good. Okay. And PYQs. So you did PYQs also through test series, right? Separately, did you do anything like that?
No, sir, nothing specific because as I mentioned, there was another test series that
Yes,
had
yes,
actually
yes.
it has modeled the entire PYQs into a test series.
Mhm.
So that way, I was writing the PYQs itself.
Mhm.
So I did not have to again separately do PYQs.
Mhm.
So this was actually one help that I got, sir.
Okay. One more thing. So any methodology did you develop while like for PSIR answer writing? One thing you already shared that at the end towards the conclusion you would write the contemporary relevance.
Yes, sir.
Anything else apart
I'll mention two things, sir.
Okay.
First thing is during the crash course, Shubharanjan ma'am, she told something like whole to part approach. Now, whole to part approach, especially for 15 and 20 markers, what she said was build an answer by establishing the background, then arrive at the demand. Now, that way, it would be more organic, and in a literary sense, that answer would emerge very naturally. For 10 marker, you directly hit the demand. No wasting of time. Directly you start off with the demand of the question. Especially for 20 marker, that is what she suggested. Some brief background, then slowly arrive and hit the target. So this is something that I applied in last mains as well. This year, I limited it only for 15 and 20. Last year, what mistake I did was even I applied it for 10 marker. So what I understood was this approach, whole to part approach, will not apply for 10 marker.
Very true.
Because you do not have that many space. So and by the time you are establishing the background, most of the 50-60% of the page is gone.
True.
Now you are answering the demand only in the next 40% of the paper. So this was one mistake I did. So I corrected it. This time I directly hit the target demand of the question in the 10 marker. For 15 and 20, I made sure I continued with this. So this was one approach. The second approach was some topper a few years ago in one of the YouTube video I had seen. She had mentioned this 5C approach.
Okay.
So the 5C approach meant basically first C was context.
Okay.
So whatever question is there, I would establish the context of the question, in what context that topic came. Then came the content. So I would expand on the concept. I would expand the concept and write on that content. So that is the second C. So context and content, first and second C's. Third was compare and critique.
Okay.
Here, similarly related topics, I brought in different things, irrespective of whether it's asked or not. I would just briefly bring some similarly placed ideas and also write a critique.
Okay.
If compare is not possible or if it's not asked, I would bring in the critique part.
Okay.
So I would bring and made sure that half a page I would just write critiques, sir. And this is something I gave a lot of emphasis because let's say irrespective of the topic, whether it is given in a very optimistic shade, that a question is asked in an optimistic shade, even then I would write a critique to it.
Okay.
So that actually gave a two-side image of the same concept. So it gave that sense of completion. So this was a third C, compare or critique, based on the demand. Fourth came contemporary relevance, sir.
Okay.
Which I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So this would be dedicated one paragraph. Then came conclusion.
Okay.
So this was my 5C approach, and this was actually suggested by some other topper a few years ago. So, but I made it a point that I use it. So it actually made thinking very easier. So it gives some logical sequencing.
Exactly. It gives a structure to your thinking.
Structure, right. Yes, and also structure to thinking, and also you know what is coming next. So you're not wasting too much time as to what to write. You already know what is to be done next. And also because I have a 5C approach, I also know how to divide my page. Once the division of paper is done, actually writing becomes very easier.
Okay. So before you writing the answer, you have a rough structure in mind, right? And then you're just filling that structure. Like that. So this is a very good approach. It helps you remain on track also.
And also, let's say there's a topic on some concept by Marx, and we're just writing one side of that concept in entirety. And last, we are just dedicating one paragraph for some critique and then writing immediately, abruptly ending with a conclusion. Now that won't be happening now.
Yes.
It will be very sequential.
When you don't have a structure, basically our biases come in. When we understand, like if you understood something very nicely, we tend to explain that a lot. And so those kind of biases, where whatever we find interesting, we tend to emphasize that. Those kind of biases come in. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. What was your approach regarding, like you mentioned about that third C, right? Compare and critique, right? So in that, like you always had other scholars to like compare or criticize, or like for comparison, of course, you need other scholars, but for criticism
for comparing part, I am choosing those authors and thinkers that are of the same ideas, supporting the ideas. Critique is exactly opposite. Now, whatever ideas I've established, I am using the opposite ideas to critique the very idea.
So for that, you used to quote thinkers, or you used to write on your own also, like certain ideas not good?
It is mostly thinkers. If I'm not able to think of any particular thinker, then I would generalize and write it, sir. But mostly it was with thinkers.
Okay. So this practice also you must have done beforehand, right? I mean,
yes, I have. Yes, sir. That is where the everyday answer writing came in. I made the everyday answer writing only to practice this.
Okay.
I would not use all of this and experiment on the day of the test, sir. Because on the day of the test, you are just worried about the syllabus completion of the paper, etc. There you do not have that luxury of doing all of this. And directly one cannot do this. So I would make sure I practice this on an everyday basis. So it becomes easier even in that time crunch. I'm still able to stick to this.
It becomes your system like that.
Yes, sir. Because the problem is everyone knows most of the things. Like with respect to answer writing, I have to write in a structured way. But because of the time crunch and because of that pressure, we ultimately do go to our primal instincts and we just try to finish the paper. And that is where we mess up. Yes.
And once you lose the track, then you're just bothered about paper then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So total, I would say you wrote some 10 sectional, 10 FLTs.
10, yes, sir. 8 sectional tests, which are also of 20 questions, sir. Okay. Even though they were sectional, it was still 3-hour paper.
Okay.
And then one FLT completely. Okay. And then PYQs, the other test series, 4 sectional tests and 4 full-length tests, sir.
Okay. And then 2 PYQs every day, right?
Yeah, and 2 PYQs every day.
Okay, so that
if not writing, at least brainstorm.
Okay. So that is good number of questions. Okay.
Good number, yes.
So this third time, last time your focus exclusively was writing, I would say, right? Like that.
Yes.
And parallelly you were reading.
Yes, sir. Yes. Last time it was more of reading, very less of writing. This time it was a balance of both, but with more emphasis on writing.
Okay. Great. Okay, fine. I think we're done mostly, with all questions. Now, just wait. PSIR answer writing. GS, PSIR, did it help anything in GS too?
GS, yes, sir. This time around, even the questions on IR part, they were not very GS specific. They were very vague. Okay. Because some energy security question linking to West Asia, it was not a very direct question with lot of subparts. So that I felt PSI students were more comfortable. Okay. And one more area I wanted to highlight was the paper solving strategy, sir.
Yes.
Now, this is where again I made some changes. This time around, I would always attempt the 20 marker first.
Okay.
Then write the 15 marker, sir.
Okay.
Then go to the section A 10 marker.
Okay.
Always section A 10 marker first, and then end with section B 10 marker.
Okay.
So what I felt was completing 20 marker, 15 marker gave so much momentum that 10 marker I saved a lot of time, sir.
Okay, so towards the end, you are able to write very fast.
Yes, sir. Let's say towards the end, if the average time is X minutes for 10 marker, I was actually able to do it in less than X minus 1 minute.
Okay.
So I was doing it because of the momentum I had gained. Strictly.
Yes, makes
if
sense.
I had written the same answers of first 10 marker, I would have taken X plus 1 minute.
Oh. Yes.
Because of the lack of momentum.
This totally
this
makes
I've
sense.
tried.
I also never thought like this. This totally makes sense actually.
This is purely practical, sir, because I've tried, tested, and it works absolutely fine.
Yes.
Usually feel, sir, that starting the first 5 questions has to be in very good handwriting, very good content. That is why we start off with that. But the problem is we tend to put in a lot of energy as well as time also. So now that leaves the crucial 20 marker, 15 marker with a little less time, sir. And there we compromise our answers.
Yes.
And so that is why I reversed it. I made it sure that I would finish 20 marker. And also the thing is 20 marker and 15 marker, we need a lot of better structures and better depth of answer writing. Unlike 10. 10, it's more of extension of GS. So we can think of, anyways, we are hitting directly the demand of the question.
Exactly.
We do not have to think much. But 20 and 15, we need a lot of thinking in the background, sir. And that won't happen under pressure. So I made it point that 20 marker first, 3 questions, then all the 6, 15 marker, then section A 10, then section B. Completely.
This is a very good strategy. Actually, these kind of things, it shows how much efforts you have put in. Right? Because when you're consistently thinking about ways to improve, then you get these kind of ideas.
Exactly. So that is what I mentioned earlier, because we have to be very, the self-diagnosis has to happen every day. Exactly. You cannot just expect some mentor or evaluator to do all of this. And you cannot just outsource all of that to some mentor or evaluator, because ultimately you are going to write the answer and you are in a better way of understanding one's own weakness.
Exactly.
I'll be more honest about my own weaknesses. I will not wait for others to identify it. I don't have that much time also, sir. Or even if I get that feedback, I won't have that time to make those corrections.
Very true. You don't have that conviction also, right? When somebody else tells you.
Exactly, sir. Even if someone tells me,
exactly,
I will not have that conviction.
But when you go through that process and then you realize, oh, I'm lacking in this, I need to go around it like this, then you have that confidence, you have that clarity also. Right?
Perfect, yes, sir.
Oh, great. So, okay. Overall, it was a long journey for you also, right? You started in...
Yes, long and very uneven journey, because a civil engineering graduate taking PSIR out of the middle without any guidance. It was the biggest risk I had taken, but I'm glad that I took that risk, because a lot of my friends who are stuck in Kannada literature, or they know that optional is not doing well. They know that they have to change the optional, but they were very reluctant and to step into a new optional. But I made that decision and I actually cleared, sir. Okay. But some of them are still stuck, and now they're actually regretting that we should have decided like you. So that risk-taking ability also is needed in this exam, sir.
And I think you're married also, right? So family and all, it went along, right? I mean, you didn't stop for just for...
No, sir. I was working full-time state government job. 1 year and 4 months ago, I got married. So it was all a mix of all that, sir.
Yes. And exactly, it's not that just your last year efforts have produced this result, right? It was effort before that as well, right?
Cumulative, yes, it is all cumulative effort.
Exactly. Yes. So, have you resigned yet, or how is it?
Not yet, sir. Actually, I have to wait for some communication, either the service allocation or the Labasna letter. Then I have to get relieved from here, sir, so that the service record gets continued from state to center.
Oh, it continues, huh?
Yes, sir. It's called technical resignation. So it actually helps all the NPS leaves, everything gets carried forward.
Okay, great. Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Kiran. Best luck. Okay, and thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Now, if you made it so far, congratulations. Okay, I'm very sure that you must have received very good insights from this video about PSR preparation, especially about answer writing. Now, if some part of the video is still unclear, I'll recommend that you go back to that part, play again, listen carefully, because the strategies shared usually, sometimes toppers have their own way of sharing. Some things are a little cryptic, and then maybe listening twice or thrice, it helps us make it understand better. Okay. One more thing I'll recommend is, rather than seeing the strategies of multiple toppers, you come back to the same video after some time when you feel confused, especially when you start answer writing and all, and it will again do a lot of value addition to you. This is my experience, that rather than watching the strategies of multiple toppers, it is better to stick to one topper strategy and revise it again and again. Try to understand everything that is being shared there. Once you understand everything, once you implement everything, then maybe you can move on. Okay. So that's what I'll recommend. And one more thing, this year we'll be posting a lot of current affairs related videos for mains 2026, only PSR related. So I'll recommend you subscribe to this channel so that you get timely updates regarding our videos. Okay. With this, thank you. Bye.